when you're evaluating yourself, when you're evaluating success, I want you to use the word, how healthy is it? Not necessarily how successful is it. All right, welcome to the Todd Boffo Show. I don't know if you've heard this saying that, the happiest people aren't always rich, but happy rich people can do a heck of a lot of good in the world. Today, we're talking about the power to gain wealth. I think even from the Bible and people's perspective of wealth is not always happy. There's a paradigm of what people think of when they think of the power to gain wealth or being wealthy as an individual. What does that mean? And the Bible actually talks about this in Deuteronomy 8:18, says that it's God who gives us the power to gain wealth, to establish this covenant with us. And it's a powerful statement, but the truth is wealth is one of the most misunderstood scriptures in the Bible. My dad was a pastor. I've grown up in church my whole life. I've heard scripture after scripture and designs and breakdowns of all of it. And there tends to be extremes on one side or the other that some people think better to be poor. You shouldn't even worry about money. And other people are like, it's all about money. And that's the sign of their blessing. But I want you to look at something. We're going to talk about this today that I hopefully will shift and transform you to see it in a healthy way. Because even that word wealth there, it does mean financial resources, but it also means that it's God who gives you the power to gain wealth. Where? In my finances, in my health, in my relationships, in my skill set, in my calling, in every area of your life. I want you to think about this concept. When you're evaluating yourself, when you're evaluating success, when you're evaluating how well am I doing in these areas, I want you to use the word, how healthy is it? Not necessarily how successful is it. Now, how great is it? I want you to adopt a term I like to use. How healthy is this? Now, nobody is 100% healthy. If I walked into the doctor's tomorrow, you walked into the doctor's tomorrow, they'd find some. It's like taking your car in. Go in for one thing, next thing you know, you got a list of other things that you might need to do something about. But the point is this. If you could live the healthiest, why wouldn't you? But specifically, I want to talk about the idea that God has created you to generate wealth through your gifting and calling. And this doesn't mean that everybody's going to be a millionaire, but there are some people watching this. Not only they're millionaires, they're potentially billionaires as well. And why? Because God has done it to establish. It would make sense if God was going to gift and put talents in you and inside of me, that they're going to be monetized in this world. If you look through the Old Testament and you think about who's your favorite character, who is it that you look to, or in the Bible? And people will point to, some people say David, some people say, we know Jesus, he's number one. But besides Jesus, some people might say the Apostle Paul, some people might point out a disciple here or there. I like Joshua, if you've ever seen this on, this is a really good friend of mine got me. This is on the back, Joshua 1:9. It's my favorite chapter in the Bible, Joshua 1. 3 times he says, be strong and courageous, be strong and very courageous. I should do teaching on that, which I will. But Joshua was one of my guys. Joseph in the Old Testament. We could go down the list of people, Abraham, Moses. Of all those people, none of them were priests. Not one of them was a priest. They weren't pastors in a church. So all these people that we point to, look at the heroes of the faith in Hebrews 11, and we could go down the line of all those people. None of them are priests. And it tells us something that the impact that we're meant to make and how we represent God. It's not that we're not supposed to be in a church and that we don't need pastors. No, we need those things. But that's not, if you're not called there, if you're not part of the 3% or less, then you need to find your calling, because in that calling is not only success, there's only wealth in many areas of your life, but it's also a satisfaction in how you're living your life and just living this thing we call life. So number one, I want you to write this down, is that God is the source of my wealth. He is there is a source of life. When you think about people like the Big Bang Theory, look, I'm not an expert on how the whole earth got here and how many years and everything is, but one thing I do know, we're here. And we came from something. And I believe we came from God with a design. There's nothing about creation that does not speak to design, of divine design. And so even if you look at your life and where you are today, you were to go back a few steps and you kind of really analyze a little bit your life, you would start to see, man, there's been something that's been going on in my life that I haven't always been able to articulate. Some of you had, and you call it God, but others are you're not sure. But I'm here to tell you that it's God who is the source of wealth. So how do we work this out? Well, number one, I wake up with an acknowledgement of gratitude. I'm thankful to God that he's giving me this power. Whatever power that is, it's an ability, it's a skill set, it's a way to do something on this planet because everybody's doing something anyway. But I acknowledge first that it came from him, and then I dedicate everything that he's given me, I dedicate it back to him. So we talk about integrity and values. How do you set those up? What is it how is it you're coming up with that list of things that you choose to live by? Now, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. But what are your values? What are the things that you put down that you say, these are my values? This is how I'm going to create and choose to live my life. Because my life matters, and I want it to get somewhere. I want it to look like this down the road. And so one of the ways that I get there is I have a set of values today. I don't wait till tomorrow. Because life is going to come at you and hit you from a lot of different directions. And if you're created for wealth and you're created to build and you are created to do some incredible things in this planet, do you not think there's going to be opposition? Do you think that it's just going to be easy? Like it's just going to be, you just wake up because you're that special, that you're just that great, you're that cool. No, it doesn't happen like that for anybody. It starts with the belief, it starts with the confidence, yes, that I have been built for a reason, but then it's also understanding that you didn't put yourself here. God did. I take my work, and gratitude, even with my little, turns it into enough. My work is my worship. So what does that mean? It means again, I'm not part of that 3% that's working for a church. I have another calling. I'm outside. Let's say you're doing all these things. Well, one of the ways that you do that is you align your values with integrity. So my integrity over shortcuts. I do business a certain way. I treat people a certain way. Matter of fact, I start to align myself. It's all in the Word, and there's great training out there. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about this. How do you align this in your life? Mark 8:36, what would it profit someone if they gain the whole world and lose their soul? I want to ask you a question. When you think about that losing your soul, part of it is hey, you do all this stuff, but you don't really know God. He's not part of this equation at all. That's important. But your soul is your mind, your will, and emotions. God cares about that too. That matters. And so your alignment with my mind, will, emotions, being able to operate at a certain level, God's the one that helps us do that in a healthy way. Think about this. The sun is a source of light. It's a source. I can turn on a lamp, but that's powered by something. The sun just exists. God just exists. There is no beginning. There is no end. So God's the source of wealth. Number two, there's wealth beyond money. Let's talk about this for a minute, because I know for some people here watching, you're really good at that money piece. You're really good, and you've done it well. And so it's good. That's not bad, because nobody's good at all these things. Some of the people are better at this, but I want to encourage you to build relational wealth. How do you do that? Well, number one, I invest in myself and I invest in others. I invest in others that can't do anything for me. I look for opportunities. I don't kill myself with it, but when I'm on mission, I'm waking up on a mission. I'm waking up understanding that God has given me power to be wealthy in every area of my life. And so in this area of relationships, I have to work on investing in other people, doing things for others, also protecting my health. My health is wealth. Now, I've been doing a better job with it. I could do a much better job. I got my little whoop here. I follow that. I get to the gym 5 times a week, but there's more I could do in eating better. Health is wealth. So I'm asking God to help me in these areas. Also, growing in wisdom. There is knowledge, there's wisdom, and then there's understanding. The Bible talks about these 3 areas. We need all 3 areas of those essence of knowledge and wisdom and understanding to live life well. And I want to encourage you, as you think about wealth beyond money, think about, my relational health. I want to think about my physical health. I want to think about my wisdom and my intellectual health. At any time, I guarantee you, there's some people, you're really good at maybe your health. Maybe you're super healthy physically, but relationally, you're just not so great. Or maybe you're good relationally, you're good health-wise, with your body, but you're not generating finances. That's another area that you need to work on. So community helps you with every single one of those areas. Community is important. So being in the right place matters. Benjamin Franklin said it this way, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So I want you to think about, if there's the power to gain wealth, God's gonna help me, maybe take some time and look through these areas of my life and think about it this way. It's like wealth is a tree, and I have these different branches in my life. Like, let me just be honest. Be honest with yourself. Like, where am I with my physical health? Where am I with my relationships? Where am I financially? Do I have savings? Do I have investments? Do I have income producing assets? Do I have debt? Have I gotten out of debt? And really, it doesn't matter where you start. It really doesn't matter where you start. The point is you get started because you're growing something. You're growing this tree, and you got this tree, and you're the only one that can grow this tree. You got this incredible gift, and you have talents on your life. I don't care what's happened in the past, or maybe you've been knocked down, or maybe you've been tried and it didn't work out. Can I just tell you, today's a new day? It's God that gives you the power to gain wealth, to establish this covenant. Why? Because there's a purpose on your life to shine. There's a purpose on your life. It's not about just building your platform so you can be so great or just be seen. Now, you need platforms to build influence. Look, poor people can be happy. But what about rich people that are happy? They can do a heck of a lot more good with resources. The third thing here is wealth as a covenant confirmation. What does that mean? I know some of you may have never thought about that, but what does that mean? So why did God give this? Why is he connected to me for this, to generate wealth? Why is he connected to me that I would grow and be wealthy? Why is that important to God? Number one is to be generous and to give freely. You can't give what you don't have. I remember growing up in my church, my dad first started church, a little church in Jersey, and we had a guest come in from Guatemala, Pastor Jose, and they're doing a great work. We're raising money for this building and all these orphans and helping people that didn't have food. It was powerful, right? Powerful presentation. We're like ready to give. I remember we got done that Sunday. I think we raised like $3,000 or $4,000. I remember we just celebrated. We thought that's so awesome and that's so great, and it was, because for those people it was. But do you know what? Inside of that room, looking back on it, we had so many more resources. Nobody was being stingy. I'm going to tell you this. Do you know that statistically, poor people are better givers than wealthy people? Statistically. Now, I know a lot of wealthy people are doing great, but percentage-wise, so they had the heart to give, but they didn't have the resources to give. And this is what we're talking about here, that when you think about this covenant, why is it important? So I can give these resources. I sat in a restaurant here. We were raising money for Nicaragua, and I had a friend there, and he was talking about, like, hey, I want to help out. Let me just hear what they're working on, and if something seems like a good fit for me, I'll give. And I remember we were sitting at that table, and they went through building some houses, and the houses were like $4,000 a year, and said how many houses they want to build, and he said, well, they want the goal is 25, and he said, all right, here's what we'll do. I'll give you the 100. There's a pass-through, goes all the way to them. I don't keep any of the money. We don't keep any of the money. Church, nobody's keeping the money. It's going right to the ground. $100,000 like that. I've seen people, I was in Rwanda, I saw guys come and say, hey, look, we're going to put together, what's the fund? We need $750. All right, I'll do this much. You do this much. We got $750. I was literally sitting in Rwanda. We're at the Marriott in downtown Kigali. We had visited the village. They talked about making this statement. They're going to build this other building. They're going to build a school. They're going to do this and that. All the plans were in motion. They made the commitment financially. They sat back that night, talking about, it was like, this is going to be so cool. A couple of them had some brandy, some cigars, and they were just talking about like how God's been really good to them, and how they get to do this. A few days later, one of the guys woke up and said, hey, did you see the email from last night? To his partner, his buddy. He said, no, I didn't see. He said, hey, remember that investment we did? Man, it just came back. Now it just came back. Like, we just made way more money than we thought. It more than covered what they just donated. And this was only the first round. They were getting more after that. And here's the point. When you think about covenant, God gives it to me to push it through me. There has to be people willing to not care what anybody else thinks, to not care what it might look like, to go all in with the skill set, to go all in on what they've been given, go all in on maybe the dreams that they have. Because God is doing something. You've been set up. He's given you the power to gain wealth. For some of you watching this, it is an extreme number. For some of you, I don't know where the number is. I don't know where the ceiling is. I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that most people that I've met in over 25 years of working with people, ministering to people, traveling around the world, is that most people put a ceiling on themselves where God didn't put it. Or talk about things where it comes to money and say, well, I don't want to be like that guy and I don't want to be like this guy. Well, you know what? Who said you're going to be like that? You're meant to be you. And this is why God said, I establish this covenant, because he wants you to think about legacy. This is a big piece that I talk about with the fingerprint. And that print thing is that there is something special on your life and my life to build beyond this generation and your generation. When somebody gets mature, when you start to build into significance, typically it's in the 40s and 50s, and you've already accumulated some things, but there's something that awakens that says, I'm built for more, and I want to build something that outlasts me, that outlasts my family, I want to build something that outlasts me, because your life is going to go like this. It's going to go so fast. Trust me, it's going to go fast. So wealth is a covenant. Why does he say that word? Well, one, so you can be generous. Two, to think about legacy. And then also it's to steward your influence and lead responsibly. We need great leaders that are givers and servants. You know, Jesus said this, he said, if you want to be great, be the servant of all. What does that mean? If you're running a company, be a servant up, down, all around. You need to be everybody's friend and doing everything all the time. You need to know what you need to do. But that essence of a servant, the essence that you're building something, the essence that you're called to something should empower you today, or it should be waking you up, or even in the hard times, the reminder that your life matters. And that part of the reason that word is used in covenant is that you're meant to steward something that's bigger than you. Oh gosh, it's so much bigger than you. I hope I'm communicating this, because I feel it in my heart. I wish I could do it better. And Churchill said it this way, make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. It was never designed. Our life is not just about me. First line in purpose-driven life, it's not about you. Do we need to make ourselves priority in areas? Yes. Do we have plans and purposes? Yes. Do we have a unique skill set and unique print? Yes. But it doesn't exist for us, just us, for ourselves, or the person that we see in the mirror. I love this old proverb. It says, the society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they will never sit in. That's what it means to build something beyond your lifetime. I don't know where you're at today, but I want to encourage you, build something that matters. Build something of significance. It's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Don't wait. Just get started. Start small. Don't apologize for being blessed. I sat with somebody not too long ago, and they built a house, and it's like a $9 million house, and we were talking about it, and they were just embarrassed to tell me, because we were praying for the house, but I didn't know where the house was. I didn't even know what the house was. We didn't even talk about that part. I was like, yeah, bro, I'll pray for your clothes. Oh, yeah, it worked out. I said, tell me about the house. They're like, oh, it's just kind of embarrassing. Like, it's not a big deal. There's only a couple of us in it. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I'm thinking that maybe the house was like some kind of low-class house or something, which I don't care what their house is. But here it was like this $9 million home, and they were embarrassed. Like, well, I don't like to talk about it. I get it, you don't want to talk about it, but you should never shrink back from God's blessing in your life. You didn't just get that. It's because you've worked. It's because somebody worked. It's because you have a heart to bless people, and God has blessed you. This is not about giving away everything, because you have two hands for a reason. Listen to me. There is two hands for a reason. There's one to give and one to receive. If you have resources, there's resources that you have, and out of everything that you get, there's a portion that you should save. There's a portion that you invest. What does that mean? Like, think about seed. There's the portion that I get this harvest. I eat some of it because I need to. Then there's a portion that I sow into the ground for my future. And then there's another portion that I sow into outside. It's not that complicated. It's that simple. And learning to live with that mindset that I'm not going to apologize for being blessed. I'm not going to back down from building wealth. It's God that gives me this power to create wealth, to establish his covenant. Wealth is not just about what you keep. It's what you release. So steward it well. Let your wealth be in your financial health, your relational health, your physical health, your financial, in every area of your life. Learn to just apply this scripture into those areas and say, God, I want to live wealthy. And just start out by assessing yourself. How healthy are you in each one of those areas? And what's one you can start focusing on, even spiritually? Some of you here, man, this is some of your spiritual word. Like, don't give up. Just keep engaging, because that spirit part of you matters. Just like the financial part matters. Just like your physical. Like, none of it doesn't matter. But you got to make an investment in the areas you want to grow. And my hope is that you'll be a testimony. You'll be a testimony not just for your family or your friends or the world, but also a testimony of what's possible. What's possible when somebody makes the decision, say, I'm going to intentionally live my life, and I'm building something that's going to outlast me. That even when I'm gone, and I'm long gone, that whether people know it was me or not, I know that I left this world a better place because I was here and that you were here. I hope this encourages you. You got the power to gain wealth inside of you. Keep building, keep focused, and I hope to see you next time on the Todd Boffo Show.